You are LockedOn Braves POSTCAST, part of LockedOn Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST. I'm Grant McAuley. He's Jake Mastroianni. This is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Atlanta Braves, then you're probably feeling pretty good about the last three games against the Tigers at Truist Park as the Braves closed out their homestand in fine fashion with a 3-game sweep of another American League foe, and they will set their sights on yet another this coming weekend, one, though, that might be a little bit more powerful. We'll, of course, get to that. The Braves were powerful on Wednesday in a day game as they supported Reynaldo Lopez with some big hits, a bunch of runs, and completed that sweep. We're going to talk all about it. Before we get into it, though, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta here on YouTube, and Locked On Braves, wherever you get your podcast. This episode brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use the code LockedOnMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match of up to $100. Well, Jake, we've talked so much about the Atlanta Braves offense and what we saw over the course of this homestand. Collectively, I think you have to feel at least a little bit better about the way things are trending. Individually, though, I feel like we've been waiting for Sean Murphy to finally get his feet under him after missing so much time this year. And Wednesday, as it turns out, was that day.
It certainly was a game that he needed, really just kind of get his numbers back to look somewhat respectable. And it's kind of crazy to think, and I know they said it on the broadcast, and I really couldn't even believe it when they said it, his 15th game this year. It's just he missed a lot of time, and he is still trying to get up to speed. But the power that he can bring once he does start to get the lift on that baseball. You saw it in this one, an opposite field homer, a pull side homer, which you're typically going to see from him. So he's got that powerful bat. It's just he has missed a lot of time. It's going to take him a minute to get going.
Yeah, 2 solid months with that oblique strain. That's just one of the many things that has not gone right for the Braves offense this year. But as we said all along, and when Sean Murphy came back pretty much at the start of this month, there is time left for these guys to kind of get back to those norms. But what we saw in this homestand on a bigger, I guess from the big picture, 30,000-foot view is you had certain guys that you just needed to start seeing something from. Austin Riley answered some of those questions. We'll talk about him later. Sean Murphy obviously has done so. Marcell Ozuna has been just the driving force of this Braves offense, but you needed to see some other guys start to contribute in meaningful and in some cases powerful ways, because that's who this team is. And Jake, it just feels like they just took so many steps towards getting back there, and they got extremely good pitching over the course of this 3-game sweep as they fired a 7-0 shutout at the Tigers in Wednesday's finale with that guy again, Reynaldo Lopez. It's just continuing to do what he has done all year long, which is pitch great baseball.
He has all year, but this offense, and again, the pitching haven't been the problem. It's all been about this offense and what can they give you. And I know they had the first 2 games in this series, only scored 2 runs, but had the big weekend against Tampa Bay. But the game on Wednesday, in my mind, it might be one of the more impressive offensive performances I think I've seen all year. When you consider they're going up against the AL Cy Young favorite,
yep,
and the at-bats just up and down the lineup were very good, especially early on in this game. Knocked him out after 4 innings. I've said it on here before. When they're going like we know they're capable of, I don't care who they're facing. They can be facing the AL Cy Young favorite, and I feel like they have the bats that are able to get it done. But they just came into this game locked in from the very beginning. The at-bats were just really, really good, pushed up that pitch count. They were able to come through with some big hits and situations to score some of those runs when they had those opportunities, something we hadn't seen a lot of, even when they haven't been going as good here. And another thing about this one too, no hits from Marcell Ozuna, although he did walk twice. No hits from Matt Olson either. It was everybody else kind of contributing a little bit and giving those guys a little bit of a break as they've been carrying the load for a while now. But again, just considering who they were facing and just the type of at-bats you could see in this one, you knew they were going to have some strikeouts going up against Skubal. But even some of the at-bats where they struck out, it felt like they made Skubal work for it. So I love this performance from the offense. Again, might be one of the better ones of the season.
Yeah, certainly one of the rougher starts for Tarik Skubal, who came into this game with a 2.20 ERA and was handed just his 3rd loss of the season. So he's been pitching great for the Tigers. And when you look at it overall, yeah, they're under 500. But when you think about some of the guys who have stepped up for them this year, he's probably at the top of that list. I know a lot of people have been high on him for a number of years. Can he get healthy? Can he get himself out there and really show what he's capable of? The answers to that has been yes and yes here in 2024, but just 4 innings and 5 runs hung on him by the Braves in this particular game. we knew these bats needed to break through, and they did it against one of the toughest pitchers in the American League, scoring 7 runs on the day that Skubal pitches after scoring, as Jake mentioned, just 2 per game over the first couple of contests. But as it happens, that was enough. And Sean Murphy kind of joked after the game, he really likes the Braves' chances when they allow 0 runs. I would also subscribe to that line of thought. Reynaldo Lopez with the 5 shutout innings, a couple for Aaron Bummer. Then you saw Daysbel Hernandez and Grant Holmes come in. So it wasn't the big names of the Braves bullpen, but Jake, yet another shutout for this group. An incredibly big reason why the Braves have been able to kind of keep their head above water at a time in which their offense could not be counted on. And now it seems like some things are starting to course correct.
I love this strategy by the Atlanta Braves. Just don't give up any runs. It's your best chance of winning a ball game. I think they should try to do that every game out. And according to Sean Murphy, that is the game plan. Every time out, don't give up any runs. So keep that up. 10 of them this year, 10 shutouts, that is, leads all of baseball. Again, the pitching's just been outstanding. So, that's been one of the constants really after the first 2 weeks when the offense was great. The pitching maybe was not so much after, you lose Strider and had the fallout of that. But ever since that, this pitching staff's been one of the best in baseballs and the best at putting up zeros on the board. And again, that's the best way to win games. So I certainly like that strategy. Hope that it keeps up.
Yeah, it is just wild to think that the Braves pitching staff has had the kind of success that it has. You mentioned that obviously leading Major League Baseball in shutouts, the fact that this has been really a top 10 pitching staff pretty much all year long. And you think about doing it without the guy who was supposed to be leading the way in Spencer Strider. But when you have Chris Sale come in and do the kind of things he's done, Reynaldo Lopez has come in and done a lot for this Braves club too. Probably the biggest surprise pitcher maybe in Major League Baseball, if we're being honest, in terms of what you could realistically expect from somebody. Lopez just continues to over-deliver, Jake, and that makes him, not just a dark horse favorite perhaps for some Cy Young votes, but it also makes him an incredibly important part of what the Braves have done this year, and they got him on a sweetheart of a deal if he's able to be this kind of pitcher over the course of the next 3 or 4 years.
I mean, yeah, what another steal this could potentially be for Alex Anthopoulos. Getting this guy, many people, myself included, thinking, okay, that's a good price for somebody who could be your setup man. Maybe he eventually takes over as your closer. I mean, I'd be fine with that. But to now get somebody who's in the rotation and pitching like a top of the rotation arm, I mean, just what a deal for him. And this is a game for me. You're going to see the 0 up there on the scoreboard. Didn't allow any runs. This was a struggle for Reynaldo Lopez. He had traffic in every inning. He really only had his 4-seam fastball working today. The slider threw a couple of good ones here or there, but only 1 whiff on his slider today. That's not typical of him. We talked about last time out how good that changeup and curveball was. He really could not get that. In the last couple of innings there, he threw a couple of good changeups, but for the most part, it was just the 4-seam fastball today, which he threw 60 times. And this one out of 93 pitches, he did get 8 whiffs on that 4-seam fastball. So, to really be struggling with command as he especially was early on, and to still give your team 5 innings, not give up any runs, I think that says a lot about Reynaldo Lopez, who again, I feel like in this outing really only had the fastball working and still was able to navigate it and get through 5 scoreless innings.
Yep, he was able to do that. I'm going to make you say basically all that stuff again when we break down Reynaldo's start here in the second segment. But one other big thing that happened for the Braves in this series was a sweep. We had not seen a sweep since late April against the Miami Marlins. They swept the Astros in Houston earlier this year when they were really struggling as well. But sweeps have been hard to come by, Jake. And when you think about how the road trip went for the Atlanta Braves, you lose 3 out of 4 to the Nationals, you lose 2 out of 3 to the Orioles, then come home and win 5 out of 6 and really had a chance to win all 6 of those games. You just had to feel good about the way that this club was able to bounce back. And what it's done is put them right back in that, crazy place where you can look at this season and talk about a lot of the things that hasn't gone right and how hot the Phillies are, and all credit to them for what they're doing. The Braves have somehow managed to hang around about 10 games over 500 for the vast majority of their quote-unquote struggles this year. It just gives you hope that if this offense gets going, the Braves' best baseball may still very well be in front of them, despite the injuries and the inconsistency that we've seen over the first 2.5 months.
And it's not crazy to think. I mean, I said it when Strider went down. I said it doesn't change anything. This team is still so talented. All their goals are right in front of them. And then Acuna goes down, and you're thinking, okay, I still believe this team is good enough to accomplish their goals this year. And I do, but it's just all the hits they've taken, as bad as they have played at times, really started to make you wonder a little bit. But again, with the way the pitching has been, we all just kind of knew if this offense could bounce back and just be league average. I mean, if they had been league average over this past stretch, they'd be in much better shape. But to still go through that be 10 games over 500. It helps that the rest of the National League really doesn't seem to want to win games. But either way, they're still in a great position to reach their goals. And this team is still super talented. Like I said, you're going up against one of the best pitchers in baseball today, and you showed what this offense can do when it is locked in, when it is clicking on all cylinders. We just haven't seen that consistently enough. But hopefully this homestand kind of kicks that off, and we see that offense pick things back up and the pitching staff remains. This team is still very, very talented and very capable of getting to the postseason, winning there, and reaching the World Series.
You brought up something kind of interesting. The rest of the National League is kind of a mess, but just based on what we've seen so far in the month of June and heading on into the weekend, can you confirm to me that the Braves are still a National League club? Because all they do, it seems, is play American League teams here lately. But, all jokes aside, regardless of what league it is and what the record is of the team that they're facing, the Braves want to get back to the business of winning series. This homestand against a struggling Rays team, and I think an up-and-coming Tigers club that's at least trending in the right direction and completing the sweep by beating the toughest starting pitcher that they saw on this homestand. A lot of positives that you can take out of this, and we will continue to talk about those as we go along. We'll get inside the box score of the game, talk a little bit more about Reynaldo Lopez, of course, the big day for Sean Murphy, a great homestand for Austin Riley, and we'll be previewing the series against the New York Yankees, which comes your way starting on Friday night after the off day on Thursday. All that's coming your way as the Braves postcast continues. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home those huge wins. ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is available only in the U.S. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering select players' stats projections on Tuesday, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fee back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. Download the Prize Picks app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, download the Prize Picks app today. Use that code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get a first deposit match of up to $100. Well, Jake, let's look at the line score and the box score of this game. Another win for the Braves, which has been the trend on this homestand. Good to see. And they kind of got that winning started against the Orioles, as they were able to avoid a sweep there and complete one of their own by the time all was said and done here. Braves improved to 41-31 on the year, 7 runs, 12 hits, no errors for Atlanta. There were 8 men left on base for the Tigers. They were shut out on 8 hits, committed a couple of errors, and they left 8 men on base as well. The Tigers dropped to 34-40 on the season. Winning pitcher is Reynaldo Lopez. He's now 5-2. Losing pitcher, Tarek Skubal, he drops to 8-3 on the year, and there was no save in a game that lasted 2 hours and 27 minutes at Truist Park and brought to the a close a very good homestand. I'm going to say this, Jake, and it's not a stretch, and it may be the most obvious statement on the show. Best homestand I can remember for a while for this club. Just very convincing in the way that Atlanta was able to win both these series.
And they've been good at home for most of the year, have a winning record at home. And you talked about the offense is better there. They're actually 24-13 at home, but you're right. It has felt like a while. I remember that Padres series at home where they lost 3 or 4 there. You had the National series at home. They lost 3 or 4 in that one. And it's been a little bit since we've seen them win a couple of series at home on a long homestand like this one. So that's certainly great. And again, against teams that you really should be beating, especially at home, it's great to see them taking care of business. I haven't said that enough in 2024, but they certainly did on this one. And, a trend that hopefully continues. Again, you want to play good at home. You feel like you're more comfortable there. Baseball's flying out a little bit better for them at home as well this year. So again, just one of those taking care of business homestands, and Braves actually did it this time.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the Braves have played better at home. Obviously, a very good record there. Also hitting over 30 points higher at home than they have on the road. And the home run ball was flying with the 9 over the weekend. And then, of course, Sean Murphy had the home run ball flying on Wednesday. We'll talk more about him in a moment, but his battery mate, Reynaldo Lopez, 5 innings, no runs, 7 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 93 pitches. We talked about the grind that it was for him at times. When you do have the kind of fastball that he does have, and he's kind of able to vary it from the 93, 94 range to pushing up to that 97 to maybe 99 at times, that's a pretty helpful thing to have in your back pocket. You can make that play up, but you kind of want at least one of your secondaries to be cooperating. It seemed like Reynaldo was having a little bit of trouble getting himself, putting the harness on some of those and getting the results that he would like to have, but he was able to figure out and find ways. And I would imagine, Jake, as you look at the evolution of Lopez, who was a starter and one of the worst starters in baseball for the Chicago White Sox, so much so that they said, you know what? You got a great arm. Let's see if you can have some success in the bullpen. I think what he's learned along the way has brought him back to getting this opportunity, feeling strongly that he could still be a starting pitcher and maybe an even better one now than he was when he was younger. And he's been proving that. And starts like this, I feel like, go a long way towards just showing you the evolution and the maturation process for Reynaldo Lopez over the course of his career.
Yeah, this start said a lot about him to me. I mentioned it, his last start out before this, I thought was his most impressive start because he had all 4 of his pitches working, and we just hadn't seen that this year. And then in this one, he only has 1 pitch working, and he's still able to get through 5 innings. And that fastball, look, a well-located fastball, especially upper 90s, is still one of the best pitches in the game. That's never really going to change. But, to be able to navigate through that grind, and look, the opponent helped. The Tigers aren't the best offense in the world, but he still made some big pitches when he needed to. The first 3 innings of this game, he gave up a leadoff single. And a couple of those on some pitches that were up, a hanging curveball that was up, a slider that stayed up. He just really had trouble getting some of those off-speed breaking pitches down in this game, but he was able to go to that fastball and locate it and get some strikeouts up above the zone. So again, to have that fastball, as you said, to play as much as it does and to be able to locate it as well as he has this year, just speaks a lot about him and just kind of, the maturity of him. We talked about that yesterday with Spencer Schwellenbach, but even Lopez, a guy who, as you said, going from the rotation back in, or going from the bullpen back into the rotation, just having that confidence that he can still lean on that pitch, even if the other pitches aren't there, show it every now and then to keep it in the back of a team's mind. And, the fact that he's been so good for this long, the team has to be thinking, okay, he has that slider. Is he going to break it out? He has that changeup and that curveball. Is he going to throw it here? And then to be ready for 96, 97, 98, like Mark Canha was not ready for as the last pitch of Reynaldo Lopez's day, 98 spotted at the bottom of the zone to get out of a little bit of a traffic there. So just really impressive stuff by Lopez on a day where, again, it's really just the fastball going for him, and to be able to manage through that. Again, I think that speaks volumes for Lopez and his future as a starter. Yeah,
and he's starting to build that reputation as somebody that, you would love to say, all right, well, this guy's got no command on these other pitches. We'll eliminate those and we'll just go fastball hunting. And yeah, you could do that, but you do it at your own peril because he still threw enough of the other pitches, 33 other pitches outside of the fastball to at least have people thinking something is going on and change their eyesight, whatever the case, or their eye level, whatever it may be. It feels like he knows a little bit more about how to pitch. And while he is a hard thrower, he has certainly managed to up his game over the past few years. The success in the bullpen certainly speaks to that. But now he has been able to carry that velocity throughout the course of these starts. That was another question people had about it. And we're starting to see that Reynaldo Lopez has really made some big strides overall as a pitcher in his return to the Braves rotation. Also got to call out the more good work from the Atlanta bullpen with 4 scoreless innings after Lopez was done. The Braves pitching staff in this series, Jake, allowed 2 runs in 27 innings across the 3 games. We've talked about how good this group is, but in terms of overall, maybe the best series we've seen from the Braves pitching staff, this one's got to rank right up there, right?
Yeah, it certainly is. And again, Tigers aren't the best offense, but you still got to go out there and get the job done. And didn't really even have to use your best guys. I know they did in the second game of the series. You trotted out there the back of the bullpen of Pierce Johnson, Joe Jimenez, and Iglesias. And that's, the formula right now, at least until AJ Minter gets back. But you use Jesse Chavez, and I guess he is elite at this point. Maybe we have to consider that. You use Daysbel Hernandez a couple of times in this one, and then, the legend of Grant Holmes as well. So, and I think Aaron Bummer gets overlooked. He came in through 2 innings in this one. I know a lot of fans are still upset about some runs that he gave up early in the season, but I mean, he has been fantastic, and he's done a great job coming in and getting out of jams, getting ground balls, but he also just has incredible swing and miss stuff as well. So Aaron Bummer, just the work that he's done this year has really, really been good for the Braves. And I think somebody that maybe gets a little overlooked in this bullpen.
And think about this as well, Jake. How many times last year when we talked about the Atlanta bullpen and it came down to lefties, it was pretty much A.J. Minter and nothing else. If it wasn't working for A.J. Minter, which for a little while it wasn't last year, you kind of wondered, well, who's going to give you the work from the left side, because Dylan Lee had gotten hurt and the Braves just didn't have another option with Tyler Matzik on the shelf. They came into this year going out and getting a guy like Aaron Bummer, I felt like was kind of a necessary move. I mean, I know it was they believed that they were going to see better results this year and that he was a better pitcher than the numbers would indicate a year ago in Chicago. They traded basically every spare part that they had in order to get Aaron Bummer. But I think that the Braves should be pretty happy with what they've got there. Getting a healthy Dylan Lee back has also helped, because A.J. Minter's been out for a minute, and it hasn't felt like there's been this mad scramble to have somebody who could either neutralize lefties or at least give you the look from the southpaw side. And that's something that speaks to how well this bullpen is constructed, that they could go without the guy who's been their best lefty and sometimes their best reliever for 2 weeks or more. Now, after losing 5 of 7 on the road trip, the Braves bounce back. They win the 5 out of 6. They're 10 games over 500 again. That's great to see. Sean Murphy had been looking for a day like this. He goes 4 for 4 with a pair of 2-run homers, a much-needed day at the plate for him, and also behind the plate, helping the Braves to their 10th shutout of the year. Austin Riley also had 2 more hits in this game, Jake, including a double, and that caps his big homestand at 10 for 19 with 7 extra base hits. It would appear that Austin Riley has finally managed to figure out a few things, and hopefully he can get on a hot streak, because a red-hot Austin Riley in the midst of the Braves lineup could be exactly what this club needs to keep the kind of momentum they saw in this homestand going as they head out on the road for 7 games.
Yeah, it would be great to get Austin Riley going. Like we said, Ozuna and Olsen, they've kind of been doing their thing for a while now. Kelenic, continues to look hot at the plate. I know it's a tough matchup for both him and Olsen today, facing Tarek Skubal from the left side. But then, once Skubal leaves, Jared Kelenic immediately gets a hard hit double there. And he's been great since taking over that leadoff spot. Really, since Acuna went down, he's been really good for the Braves. Always another 2 hits today. So again, you just kind of deepen that lineup. You get everybody else going. If Riley's going, all of a sudden, if Murphy's going, you can protect Riley a little bit better in that lineup. I think they've kind of been missing that guy in the 6th spot right now, but it makes this lineup much, much deeper. You get those guys going with the powerful bats that they have. It gets it back to this lineup that you have that is so dangerous, pretty much top to bottom. There's still some holes at the bottom there. RC has been struggling, trying to figure out the other outfield spot right now with the platoon of Lariano and Forrest Wall. But again, you still get 1 through 6, 7 in your lineup with a lot of those guys who have a bunch of power that can go deep. And you start to all of a sudden see how dangerous this lineup can still be.
Yeah, and don't let me forget to mention the other former Oakland Athletic who had himself a nice day at the plate. 2 for 4, a home run for Laureano, who I'm sure was excited to finally see some of his hard hit contact that he's made in a Braves uniform get rewarded in this one. He hit his 2nd home run of the year, first since joining the Braves. So that's kind of what's been going on in this particular game. When we come back, we're going to look ahead to the road trip. New York Yankees are awaiting the Braves arriving at Yankee Stadium this coming weekend. Then it's a date with the St. Louis Cardinals and a makeup game against the Chicago White Sox. We'll talk about all of that and get you set up for the weekend series as the Braves postcast continues. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies starting at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through the process. Easily compare quotes from America's top insurers, or just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team, and with thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. You can check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head over to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB and get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That website again is policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. Jake, let's look ahead to the weekend and the road trip for the Braves. They're going to head out for 7 games after an off day on Thursday. It's the New York Yankees, then the St. Louis Cardinals, and finally the Chicago White Sox to make up that April postponed game. I guess the question is, and we've talked about this a little bit already, but can Atlanta take some of the offensive progress we saw over this homestand with them to Yankee Stadium, which is a very hitter-friendly park, as most people know? And the Yankees are certainly proof of that. They ranked second in Major League Baseball in home runs and runs scored as of Wednesday's action. They could be without Aaron Judge, though, this weekend. We'll see how exactly that plays out. But either way, this is a formidable club for the Braves to run into this weekend. And they already saw another formidable AL East club a week ago when they rolled through Baltimore.
Yeah, and those two teams playing right now, they got another game on Thursday. So the Braves have the off day while the Yankees will be playing on Thursday coming into that series. Garrett Cole, who made his return from the IL, pitched tonight, so they'll miss him. Also, Luis Hill, who's been one of their best pitchers all year long with absolutely nasty stuff. So again, with that, possibly missing Aaron Judge, maybe you're catching the Yankees here at the right time. But either way, that lineup is very good. You still got Juan Soto in there. It's a plus 126 run differential. That's best in all of baseball. They're 23-10 at home this year. So it's a very good team. It's going to be a tough series for the Braves in New York. But like you said, an offensive stadium there to play in, ballpark to play in. Maybe that helps with the Braves' power that seems to be creeping up a little bit here. And you got two of your studs going on the mound for the Braves in this series. So be a fun one. Again, be a good test for the Braves to go up to against the team that's maybe been the best team so far this year in baseball all around. So looking forward to it.
And maybe surprisingly so in some ways, just based on where the Yankees were a year ago. But you knew the talent was there. You know what Aaron Judge is capable of. Giancarlo Stanton has also looked better this year, healthier, smaller for that matter, but still hitting the ball harder than just about anybody in the game. I mean, this dude can break StatCast at any given swing. So you got to watch out for him as well. On the pitching side, you mentioned Garrett Cole finally back in action, made his season debut on a Wednesday. So the Braves have been through it on the injuries. So have the Yankees. They're certainly happy to have Garrett Cole back in the mix. But Luis Hill, who is going to throw on Thursday, won't face the Braves either. He's been quite a story, probably going to get some Cy Young votes himself if he keeps this up. So the Braves don't have to face one of those or either of those guys, and they will get to throw, as you mentioned, a couple of their studs and really three veterans overall. It's Chris Sale in the opener, Charlie Morton in Game 2, Max Fried in Game 3 for Atlanta in this series. Yankees had not named their starters, but Atlanta going to miss those couple of names we mentioned. If you're going to line it up, obviously, you'd like to be throwing the veterans at Yankee Stadium and probably not trying to test the guys who are fresh up from the minor leagues who are just trying to give you some innings. I'd say it kind of works out for the Braves in terms of the three starters that they are putting out there in New York, because you got Chris Sale that knows it all too well from his years in Boston, Charlie Morton's years in the American League as well, and then that guy Max Fried, who's just part of the Braves winning plan no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, I don't think could have drawn up the matchups much better for the Braves. I mean, as great as Schwellenbach has been, pitching in Yankee Stadium against that lineup would be a little bit of a shell shock for him. Although, he doesn't seem to really be phased by too much. I did want to mention Luis Hill. I know the Braves are going to miss him. 80 innings pitched this year, 39 hits. If you have not watched him pitch this year, it's just truly incredible what he's doing. But look, the guys the Braves might see, Nestor Cortez, Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman, they all have an ERA in the low threes as well. So it's not like, it's going to get too easy against that pitching staff that's been fantastic for them all year long. But yeah, on the Braves side, again, you get your three veterans going. It's going to give you the best chance in this series. And like I said, hopefully that ballpark playing a little bit better for the Braves. And hopefully the Braves, Max Fried, does a great job of limiting home runs, can keep the ball on the ground. But it should be a fun series. Like I said, the Braves are playing a little bit better, winning that homestand, and now you get to kind of match up again after you just failed against the Baltimore Orioles on the road. Now you get another test to see if maybe we're working in the right direction, taking on the Yankees team.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point, because not only are the Orioles and the Yankees, and also throw the Dodgers in there toward the top in runs scored, but the Yankees lead Major League Baseball in ERA. The Orioles are hot on their heels behind them. The Dodgers, if you're wondering, are fourth. The Braves check in 8th best ERA in Major League Baseball as well, and the strength of their starting rotation has been a huge part of that, but that is also true for New York. So the fact that they've been without Garrett Cole all year long and still lead Major League Baseball in ERA should go ahead and let you know a lot of things have been going right for that club in the Bronx, as if their record didn't tell you that right off from jump. It's going to be Chris Sale, 9-2, 298 ERA on the mound in Game 1 of 3 on Friday, 7:05 first pitch from New Yankee Stadium up in the Bronx, and a pitcher to be determined, at least for now, what order the Yankees are going to go. We know who is going to be throwing, just in what order has not been officially confirmed, but we'll get into it this weekend when these two clubs meet for the first of that 3-game series. That's going to bring us to the end of this edition of the Braves Postcast, following a 7-0 win for Atlanta and a 3-game sweep of the Tigers, and a very good homestand for the Braves, who won 5 out of those 6 games. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta on YouTube. Leave us those likes and comments. Share the show with a friend, and subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. Once again, the Braves finish off their sweep of the Tigers and now hit the road for 7 games. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. We will catch you next time. And until then, so long, everyone.